Breaking news, it turns out nobody actually liked pants. And do we really need them if we're all gonna be meeting this way? Also, if we're gonna do the social distancing thing, we might as well do it right. And that's why today we'll do a good question.
When you go out to a grocery shopping trip, my question is, should you go ahead and change your clothing right away?
We'll Zoom with one of the researchers who studied how long this new coronavirus can live on different surfaces. Can it live on your Amazon package? How about your dog? And lastly, how are you getting through this time?
As you can see, I have a pipe organ in my house.
Other mobile optimized coronavirus shows don't have their own organists. Lucky for you, you found Distant Socially. Doug? Hey, I'm Brandon, and this is Distant Socially. This is not the place to come for the latest counts on cases of coronavirus. We're here for your new stay-at-home world. We get it. Life changed suddenly. Our worlds got turned upside down in the span of a couple of weeks, and we're all learning to adjust to it. A bunch of us are working at home, myself included, never done that before, and we all want to get through this time and have this effort be successful so that this disease doesn't ravage us the way that some of the health experts are warning. Throughout this series, you're going to see a few things at the bottom of your screen, but I'll put them up full right now. One is the Federal Disaster Distress Hotline. This is a hotline specifically meant for anxiety that you might be feeling right now as a result of the national crisis we're in. You'll also see my email. If you want me to know something, you got a cool idea to help people get through this time, please email me, brittiman@abc10.com, and please put "Hey Brandon" in the subject line. It'll help it cut through the noise. We're here to look at more big picture issues and practical stuff to help get you through this. And also, I'm determined to find the silver linings in all this. So let's start with one of those. Pants. Who really needed those anyway? If you're like me, you may have seen the headlines out there about Walmart that they're selling a bunch of shirts, but not a whole bunch of pants right now. And with all of us meeting each other this way, it's pretty easy to see why. I wanted to do some science on this, but I had to settle for social media instead. So, without further ado, of the 166 votes I got on Twitter and Facebook, 33% of new work from homers tell me they're still wearing their usual work pants, which means the other 2/3 of you are now in shorts, PJs, or other. I really don't want to know. Let's be charitable and hope that all those people are in sweatpants. As the late designer Karl Lagerfeld said, sweatpants are a sign of defeat. You lost control of your life, so you bought some sweatpants. I'll give you the lost control thing right now, Karl, but also, hey, what's the comfort of home without a little, actual comfort? If you feel really strongly one way or the other about this whole pants, no pants thing, maybe we'll get a little debate going. Again, here's my email. Shoot me a note that says, "Hey Brandon" in the subject line. Meantime, be sure to frame those webcam shots real carefully. Our good question comes from Elizabeth.
My name's Elizabeth Vieira, and I live in Lodi. When you go out to a grocery shopping trip, my question is, should you go ahead and change your clothing right away? I mean, is it possible that you might have that virus on your clothing?
To answer that question, we look to the research on how long this virus lives on different surfaces. And on one of those studies, we found Amandine Gamble's name. She's a postdoctoral researcher at UCLA, so we let the two talk.
Can the virus live on your clothing?
So I think that's a great question because it's rarely presented in any of the guidelines.
Amandine says her research project found that basically on softer surfaces, you expect this virus to live and be viable for up to a matter of hours. We're talking about things like cardboard, whereas on harder surfaces, things like plastics and metals, you could have this virus be viable up to 72 hours later. Her specific study didn't look at clothes, but she knows research that did.
But another recently published study showed that the virus can actually also survive for some hours on tissue, on fabrics. What I would suggest is that, considering that at the given time we have the guidelines to stay at home as much as possible and to go out only like once a week, I would say maybe it's worth it to just like change these clothes when we come back from a grocery store.
She says washing your clothes, especially with hot water, will kill any virus that gets onto it. And also, this isn't just about you. You could have this virus and spread it without being sick at all. So if you have to make that essential run to the grocery store, think about the other people there, she says.
I think it would work in both directions, and that would also mean when you go out for when to do your shopping, maybe it's worth putting fresh clothes before leaving the house, so at least you don't spread viruses everywhere.
We also asked her about that study that showed the virus could be found on board one of those cruise ships for 17 days. She says that study was looking for the virus's RNA, which is sort of a signature that shows you the virus was there. It's not the same thing as live virus that can infect new people.
So when we found RNA, it means that the virus was there, but what we don't know if it's still alive or not. The title saying that the virus can survive up to 70 days is really misleading. The virus can be detected up to 70 days.
What do you recommend with handling money? Is there a time period that you should kind of leave that money set aside before retouching it again? Can that carry the virus?
It's hard to give a precise deadline, like you should leave money out for 6 hours, because it will depend if somebody was actually carrying the virus and coughed on it and put a gigantic load of virus on it, then it can last for maybe days.
Amandine says that's the tough thing about studying how long a virus can live on a different surface. It depends how much of the virus actually gets onto that surface in the first place. She also says that's really the broader goal for you. You want to minimize how much virus your body intakes. You might take in a little bit and not get sick at all, but if you take in a lot,
the more virus you receive and the more likely you are to be infected. Usually when we're at home, we don't need to touch the money. So just keep it in that maybe safe spot you have close to your entry.
Amandine's basic advice is to treat your house like it's sort of its own contained unit. If you go outside, that's your time outside. If you come home, that's your time at home. And you want to wash in between those things so that you kill any virus you're bringing home. That'll reduce the load of virus that ends up on anything you've got and hopefully reduce your chances of coming down with it. So that sparked another idea with me. Everyone's getting packages delivered to them right now, so what do you do with those?
So what I personally do, when I receive something, I try to not move it all around my house. I just like open it at the entrance of my house, and then I put the cardboard in the garbage and I wash my hands before doing something else. Yeah, maybe things that are coming from the outside, if you don't need to bring them inside, that's probably a good idea. Like avoiding putting a package on the sofa where it's like a fabric, so you might have some virus there and it's really hard to clean. It's hard to give like a yes/no answer for everything. I would go for just try to reduce the viral load and do things like that.
I had one more surface to ask about. I've got a couple that need to go for a walk every day.
We were walking our dog the other day and we were keeping 6 feet apart from everyone, but a guy leaned down to pet our dog. And we didn't know whether we should like yell at him to stop. I mean, could the virus be on your hair or an animal's hair? And like, is that really not a good idea to let people pet your dog right now?
I'm not sure how to answer that. I would tend to say if you can avoid people petting your dog, that probably would be the safer option. Socially, it's an interesting situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would encourage you to nicely say maybe that's not a good idea and you can pet my dog again next summer.
So the key thing is to just keep separate from other folks until we see who's got this thing. Sounds like.
And again, reduce the viral load that you bring in your house.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
A lot of you have had a lot of good questions. To share yours with us so we can get you answers, text us or shoot me an email with "Hey Brandon" in the subject line. The musical interludes today come from Doug, the guy you saw at the top who's got the pipe organ in his house down in Elk Grove. Doug showed me around his music room. It's a game room in his house that he converted to be this. Had to cut one of the big pipes and angle it so the thing would fit underneath his ceiling. Now, this is what Doug's been doing for a long, long time. It's not his first pipe organ to be inside of a house. He's doing a lot more of this now though, and Doug really just spends his time riffing on the thing. He says he plays what pops into his head.
I tell people on all my YouTubes, put on headsets. Don't listen to you on your iPad speaker or your phone. It's going to sound like transistor radio. In this music room, you feel it. You feel everything vibrate.
Sounds like it would behoove you to have negotiated some pretty good ground rules with the wife, though.
Yeah, that and the neighbors. No complaints. Knock on wood.
It looks like you're really feeling the music as you play.
Well, it's a different world. I just tune everything else out. The world, hopefully not, could be falling apart around us, and I just focus on the music. And sometimes it can be difficult. I mean, right now it's just like, this is really bad times.
It sounds like it's sort of like a version of meditation or something for you. You're able to like lose yourself in it.
Yeah. You know, these other things that come into your life and it just seems overwhelming. And you go into this different, what's the word? It's just this different state.
And that's distant socially. Hit us up with an email or a text, and if you've got a minute to calm yourself, Doug's music will play. He said we could share the jam session that he shared with us, so put on those good headphones, and we'll see you next time.